preacher said, "May only the truth be spoken," and the people responded,
"May only the truth be heard."
Beloveds, it's here. We've been waiting for it, and now we have it. It's the best day of the year. It's spring in the Northern Hemisphere, and at least in North Carolina, the dogwoods are out, and the azaleas are in bloom, and today we eat honey-baked ham and deviled eggs and coconut cake. Today, I wear my chrome shoes. Today, everyone sings at church, even the early service people. And besides all that lovely goodness, it's the day of the Lord's resurrection. It has got to be the best day of the year. But alas and alack, it doesn't feel like the best day of the year. It doesn't feel like a festival day, like joy abounding. It isn't like last year's Easter or any of the ones we remember before that. There's plenty of room in the parking lot. Premier acolytes aren't dropping in from college, lifting the cross to the rafters. Smiling ushers aren't asking folks to smoosh over to make room for latecomers. There's no electric energy in the courtyard just prior to the procession. Inside, the church echoes because the 6 authorized souls and the 8x11 two-dimensional photos of faithful members taped to the pews aren't enough to deaden the building's reverberation. Later on, after the service, there won't be extended family Easter lunches. Cousins and grandparents won't be chasing down eggs in the backyard hunt. It doesn't feel like the best day of the week, or the year, Instead, it feels small and sad. We're apart. We're hunkered down. We're worried about our health. We're bored. We're tired of the constraints. We're tired of the unknowing. We want good news. We need good news. This doesn't feel anything like good news. This isn't Easter. Except it is. It's very much like the first Easter. Year after year, we come together to hear the story, and the excitement grows and grows until we get to the part where the tomb is empty and the Lord is not there. The death shroud is crumpled up, unused, unnecessary. We are once again relieved. But then we always encounter the text with the advantage of hindsight and safe distance. That morning was not happy and easy for those who walked with Jesus, for those who knew him personally as a living, breathing human being. That first Easter was a hot mess. The natural assumption would be that Mary, his mother, woke that morning wrung out,
stunned and numb, barely able to put sentences together. Her son, the one sent from God, the one promised to be a leader of his people, is suddenly dead. She is barely functioning. The reality hasn't set in. The disciples are moving by rote. They too are in shock. So what happens next? Do they come back together? Peter remembers being recognized twice as a follower. Has an order gone out? Bring in the companions. Will the chief priests conspire to get them tried as men dangerous to the emperor as well? They discuss. Do we stay sheltered in place, or do we try to sneak out of the city? Mary Magdalene, practical, responsible, even in grief, sets out for the tomb to prepare the body for burial. She needs to get there before it becomes contaminated. It's not there. How can it not be there? What perversion is this? There's running back and forth, disciples deciding, is it safe to go in? Better to hang back? There are these weird encounters. It's the gardener. It's not. It's Jesus. How can that be? Later in the day, confused by the missing body, the relative neatness of the tomb, the strange message Mary brings back that the Lord is in fact not dead but risen, the disciples meet in secret. Judas is gone. Thomas is missing. Who's in charge? What's the plan? This is a scary, scary, uncharted waters. And into the room Jesus appears. Peace be with you, he says. Under the circumstances, was that happy, good news? Beloveds, day one of the resurrection was not festive. It was mind and emotion draining. It was piling on after 2 earlier days of horror and chaos. In the morning, in the evening, Easter 1 was a hard day, and the disciples weren't prepared. Hear this. The disciples were not ready on day 1 for resurrection life. They had an established pattern of life. They had an established identity. They were followers. They got up in the morning and they went where Jesus said they were going. They listened to his messages. They asked questions. They experimented with witnessing and healing. They got things right. They got things wrong. But at the end of each day, they gathered back with the Lord, and he was in charge. He made everything make sense and come out right. Now, that way of living is over, and it is never coming back. Here's what's new for them. Jesus told his disciples truth. Everything Jesus told his follower has come true. In the Bible, the phrase is, it was fulfilled. Jesus told them that he would be handed over. He told them he would die. He told them he would rise and return to his Father. He told them they would carry on. He told them God was in charge of his destiny and theirs if they assented. day one, they don't know whether they want to assent or not. They need some time to sit with the new normal. They need some time to figure out new coping strategies. They need to think seriously about what will work for them and what isn't in their wheelhouse. What they must truly come to terms with is, what is resurrection life for me? What does Jesus' life, death, rising mean for me personally? In so many ways, over so many days, Jesus gave them good data. His death and rising was the crowning proof. In that singular, amazing event, the disciples saw the power of God. They had firsthand experience that there is no force greater honor. Not Caesar, not legions, not government, not convention, nor tribe or family, not death. If nothing, not even death, is greater than God, what do they have to fear? If God defeats death, if God creates us and brings us back to Him, is there anything more rational than for us to assent to His plan? Is it anything but rational to trust His plan over all other options? That is a big, big idea. God gives us a life to live on earth, and some kind of experience with God when our life ends, our one life ends. What is the best way to order that life? What is the best way to make meaning of that life? Easter 1 posed those questions in a clearer, more poignant way, but it is way, way, way too soon for answers. So the disciples took time. As it turns out, they took an entire season to wrap their minds around who it was they were going to be in their personal resurrection life. 50 days. 50 days establishing an all clear, a new normal. 50 days discerning, discovering, and reprioritizing. 50 days getting over the old ways of thinking, so that on the day of Pentecost, on the day the wind rushed through the room and the flames descended, on the day of commissioning, of being released and sent out to live life in the resurrection mode, they were ready and they were prepared. They knew they weren't going back to the old ways and the old comforts. They were calm, they were resolute, they were impassioned. They had a sense of mission, and they had skills to employ. Those who knew Jesus and attended to His way before the resurrection lived the most satisfying, the most compelling, the most meaningful lives following it. That's what Easter 1 and 2 and 3 and following meant for them. So, beloveds, what about us? What will we do with our resurrection life? What will we do when we realize that there is nothing more sustaining than God's love for us? Nothing is more enduring or equitable than God's plan for us. What will we do when we realize giving ourselves over to God is absolutely liberating? Deciding to participate in God's plan of peace and justice and rest and kindness is freeing and hopeful. Babies are being born today that need to know this essential truth. Can we find a gentle way to teach them? Black and brown teenage boys at Ranson need to know there is something in this world for them besides poverty and limitations. Can we be a big brother to one of them? Harried mothers need to know raising good human beings is not a competition. Can we help model less judgment? What will we do with our resurrection life? It's day one. We may not yet have our plan. We have a whole season to work it out. It seems we have no place to go. What would be a better use of this time than to make ourselves ready for the reality we want to bring to life in ourselves and in this world? Jesus made the resurrection life possible. The disciples showed us a way to make it real for ourselves. It's Easter, day 1, 2020.